You never meant to find this, or maybe some part of you always did. Maybe it began as a passing thought, the whisper of curiosity while scrolling through yet another screen in the middle of the night. The lights are off, the world is quiet, and somewhere deep inside you, something stirs, a feeling, a question you've never said. Aloud, why are some places forbidden, not just dangerous, not just remote, but truly intentionally, deliberately, hidden? There are corners of this earth no map dares to mark. Fenced-off islands surrounded by perfect blue, forests that seem to breathe, buildings that hum with old energy long after their doors were sealed shut. Even entire towns erased, not by nature, not by war, but by someone's choice. You tell yourself it's just policy, just safety, just politics, just coincidence. But deep down, you know better, because something strange happens when you look into the places you're not meant to see. Patterns emerge, names repeat, histories tangle. And the deeper you go, the more the ground begins to shift beneath you. It starts with maps. Zoom in on certain coordinates and you'll find nothing, blurred pixels, ocean where there should be land, forest where there once stood stone, a smudge, a shadow, a whisper of something that once was or still is but has been, hidden away. Sometimes it's nature keeping us out. Sometimes it's governments. Sometimes it's something no one dares name. You might wonder, why would anyone go through the trouble of erasing a place? Why erase town from records? Why station guards where no one lives? Why build bunkers no one admits to? Why silence those who try to speak? The answers, when they come, are always the same. It's classified. It's for your safety. It's a hoax. But beneath every denial, there's a quiet weight, a pressure, the kind of silence that feels intentional. There are stories people don't want told. And tonight, we'll tell them anyway. We'll walk through the scorched earth of Centralia, Pennsylvania, where a fire has burned underground for over 60 years and no one will say why it can't be put out. We'll glimpse the quiet violence of North Sentinel Island, where an ancient tribe defends itself from the modern world with unrelenting ferocity. We'll step into the dim corridors of abandoned medical facilities, where the walls seem to whisper, not in language but in memory. These places are real, documented, named, and yet nearly impossible to see. And it's not just where they are, it's what they represent, a truth more haunting than any ghost story. That there are things we were never meant to know, and that silence, the deliberate kind, is its own kind of horror. Sometimes what hides these places is fear, sometimes it's shame, and sometimes it's power. You'll hear about islands overrun by venomous snakes that kill in minutes, towns soaked in asbestos or radioactive dust, temples with locked chambers that no priest dares open, forests where compasses spin wildly and people vanish without a trace. But that's not the real horror. The real horror is this, that someone decided you shouldn't see them, and they never told you why. That behind every locked gate, every blurred satellite image, every missing page in an archive is a choice, a quiet, forceful decision that says this is not for you. And yet here you are, still listening, still wondering, still searching, because you've always felt it, haven't you? That strange itch at the edge of your mind, the one that whispers when you see an unmarked road, a closed-off tunnel, a door that says authorized personnel only. That curiosity that doesn't ask, what's in there, but instead wonders, why do they want me to look away? Tonight we won't look away. We'll uncover the stories behind 29 real places across the globe, some buried in secrecy, others hidden in plain sight, each one strange, each one unsettling, each one carrying a piece of the bigger puzzle. You may know a few, you've likely never heard of most, but by the end you'll begin to notice something more. A pattern, a reason, a horrifying connection that stretches across borders through history and into the very psychology of secrecy itself. We won't scream. We won't rush. We'll move softly through Dentafita, shadows and silence, because that's where truth likes to hide. You might feel chills. You might feel something shift, or maybe you'll feel nothing at all. But when it's over, When the final place is revealed and the last gate is opened, you may find yourself asking, was I not meant to see these places? Or was I meant to see them all along? So dim the lights, settle in, and whatever you do, don't look away. The journey begins now. You drift over the Indian Ocean, its surface glassy and unbroken, when suddenly land, a dense green heart, rises from the sea, ringed with golden sand and guarded by silence. No ports, no signs, no welcome. This is North Sentinel Island, and it is one of the most forbidden places on Earth. From above, it appears almost untouched, almost peaceful. But looks are deceiving here. Set foot on that shore and you'll never leave, not because of beasts or storms, but because of people. They are called the Sentinelese, an uncontacted tribe, whose origins go back tens of thousands of years. They speak a language no outsider has ever recorded. They live with tools and fire, spears and shelter, like the ancestors of all of us once did. But what makes them extraordinary is not how they live, but how fiercely they refuse to leave it. No researcher has ever spoken with them, no missionary has converted them, no government has tamed them, and those who've tried, many have died. When outsiders approach, even at a distance, the Sentinelese rise from the tree line like shadows from myth. Arrows fly, spears flash. No warnings, no mercy. Helicopters have been shot at. Fishermen have vanished. In 2018, an American missionary tried to contact them. He never returned. His body was never retrieved. The tribe simply erased him. Why? Why such defiance, such total rejection of the world? Maybe they remember. Centuries ago, colonists captured several Sentinelese and took them to the mainland. Most died within days from disease. The survivors were released, terrified. Since then, no one has been welcome, but there's a deeper question, one more unsettling. What are they protecting? Is it their land, their identity, their sacred ways, or is it something else entirely? Something they were entrusted to guard, something they know cannot be allowed to leave the island? Satellite images reveal little. The Indian government has declared the entire island off limits, even to their own citizens. No expeditions, no science, no explanation. The mystery is protected with law, violence, and silence. Some whisper of strange carvings seen from afar. Others speak of flickering lights deep in the jungle canopy. But no one knows, and those who've dared to learn are now only names on forgotten manifests. Perhaps the true horror lies not in the tribe, but in the idea that they're right to keep the world out, that the world doesn't deserve what they protect, or worse, that what they protect must never escape. So we watch, from ships, from planes, from safe distances, and the Sentinelese unchanged, unbroken, simply wait, silent, still, as if guarding a truth older than the ocean itself. The desert doesn't whisper, it hums, a low constant vibration that creeps under your skin, like a memory you can't place. Out here in southern Nevada, the sun bakes the earth until it cracks. Dust devils rise, tumbleweeds roll, and far beyond the paved roads, surrounded by sensors, radar, and silence, lies the most famous forbidden zone on Earth, Area 51. There are no welcome signs, no gift shops, no official acknowledgement from the government, at least not for decades. Just a barbed wire fence, cameras that track you before you see them, and warning signs that don't say, "You'll be arrested." They say use of deadly force is authorized. Area 51 was once just a strip of salt flat used for test flights during the Cold War. That's the version they let you believe. But why the denial for so long? Why erase it from maps? Why the secrecy about aircraft that haven't flown for decades? And why, if it's only a testing site, do people who cross its boundaries sometimes disappear, not into prison, but from record? Some say it's where the stealth bomber was born. Others believe it's where things not born on this earth were hidden. It was 1947 when a strange object fell from the sky in Roswell. The military changed their story within days. First it was a UFO, then it was a weather balloon, then it was nothing, but something was moved, fast, quietly, to a facility that didn't officially exist. And ever since, the skies above Area 51 have glowed with strange lights, moved with impossible speed, and pulsed with questions no radar can track. But Area 51 isn't just a question of what's out there. It's a question of what's in here, in the human mind. The more we're told not to look, the more we ache to know. We stare into the desert night, hoping for answers. And sometimes, the sky stares back. People camp for days near the gates, waiting, watching, some report. Lights dancing silently above the mountains. Others capture blurry footage that vanishes after a knock on their motel door. A few say they saw figures, tall, thin, wrong in the darkness, just watching. The deeper horror? Maybe there's nothing alien in Area 51 at all. Maybe the real experiments were always on us, to see what we'd believe, what we'd deny, what we'd forget. So the signs stay up, the guards stay hidden, and the desert keeps its silence. You can stand at the edge of the fence if you like. Look into the emptiness and wonder. Just don't step across, because if you do, you may leave more than just footprints behind. The silence in Reactor 4 is not the silence of peace. It's the silence of something abandoned, but not empty. Deep inside the ghost city of Pripyat, Ukraine, beyond the crumbling high-rises and playgrounds rusted by fallout, lies the epicenter of one of humanity's darkest mistakes. You descend past warning signs, past warped stairwells, and into a room no human was ever meant to enter again. The control room of Reactor 4. It looks like the bridge of a forgotten shipwreck. Rows of panels once pulsed with light and command. Now they sit cloaked in radioactive dust, their surfaces warped by time and heat, dials frozen mid-measure, switches sealed in the exact position they were on April 26, 1986. The nighttime fractured and bled into eternity. For a moment you almost expect to hear voices. The quiet murmur of engineers, the warning of rising temperatures. But nothing stirs, or at least nothing human. Some say the panels still beep at night, that a soft green glow hums from the instruments when no one is watching. Others claim to have captured movement on their Geiger counters, small flickers that race across screens like a presence passing by. But there is no electricity. And there are no workers left alive. This was Ground Zero, the spot where the world tilted on its axis and slipped into a nightmare. The control room is still so radioactive that visitors are limited to a few minutes inside, dressed head to toe in hazmat, suits warned not to touch anything. But the danger is not just physical. People speak of sensations they cannot explain, an unbearable pressure in the chest, whispers like static in the ears, a feeling of being watched by something trapped in the walls. What did they leave behind? Only shattered clocks, scorched instruction, manuals, and a red phone once used to summon help that came too late. Or perhaps someone never left. There are rumors of a figure sometimes seen standing near the main reactor panel, always facing away, never moving. They call him the Watcher, and no one has ever seen his face. But then again, why would they? Because to stand in that room too long is to invite memory back, to feel the panic, the dread, the irreversible mistake, looping endlessly in the stale, contaminated air. It's said time doesn't move in Reactor 4, it rots slowly, silently, and whatever is still ticking beneath the dust. It isn't just a machine. You can visit, yes, with permission, with protection, with fear. But once you leave, you may never fully return to the world you knew, because something lingers and part of you always stays inside the room where time died. Beneath the Vatican, far below the golden ceilings and echoing chants, lies a realm few have ever seen. Not even popes venture freely through every corridor. Behind layers of stone, steel, and spiritual silence stretches over 50 miles of shelves. The Vatican's Secret Archives, a name that sounds dramatic but is entirely real and entirely close to you. The moment you pass the boundary where public eyes are no longer welcome, the world feels different. The air is colder, drier, engineered to preserve something not meant to decay. Here, within ancient walls, lie gospels never spoken aloud, letters from kings who shaped nations, and books banned before they were read. There are whispers of missing scriptures, of alternate tellings of Christ's life, of early doctrines that would shatter modern faith if ever released. Not even high-ranking cardinals can freely browse. To request a document, You must know its exact title page and content, a paradox that leaves you wondering how anyone can seek what they're not even allowed to know exists. Some of the archived texts are said to be wrapped in chains, not because they're old, but because they are dangerous. Writings from excommunicated saints, maps of pre-flood civilizations, records of exorcisms so violent they were struck from the church's official memory. One scroll, according to legend, holds the true name of God, a name so sacred, so powerful, it could unravel creation if ever spoken by human lips. Scholars dream of entry. Conspiracy theorists shudder at the possibilities. But none of them can see beyond the first. Locked gate without permission from the highest. Office in the Catholic world. It is said that even the devil himself would require a written request, and a very good reason. What truth is buried so deep that even God's followers must not speak of it? There are rooms within rooms, libraries inside, vaults. It is believed that the archives contain sealed letters from Pontius Pilate, describing his encounter with the man called Jesus. That somewhere in the darkness lies evidence of extraterrestrial contact, carefully recorded by medieval monks who painted stars with faces and machines in their illuminated texts. But the most chilling rumor of all? That within the archives exists a prophecy, dated, signed and sealed of the Church's own destruction, a final pope, a black sun, a silence across the earth. Only a handful of human beings alive today have seen beyond the first gates, and they are forbidden to speak. You may walk the halls of St. Peter's Basilica. You may light candles in the Sistine Chapel, but beneath your feet, in the dark, lies a library not for man's mind but for God's memory. And if you ever found your way in, be prepared, because what's hidden isn't heresy, it's something worse, it's truth. Carved into the icy veins of a remote Norwegian island, just 800 miles from the North Pole, is a door set into the mountainside, silent, silver, and strangely unwelcoming. Behind it lies the Svalbard Global Seed Vault, a place often called the Doomsday Vault. Its purpose seems innocent, benevolent even, to store seeds from every known crop on Earth, safely locked away against catastrophe. But the deeper you look, the more the cold begins to whisper. Why, you ask? Would humanity need to lock away over 1 million seeds in a concrete tomb, surrounded by permafrost? Why so far from civilization? Why now? They say it's just a backup, a safeguard against natural disaster, war, or climate collapse. But beneath the soft explanation is a shadow much larger. Quiet implication that someone somewhere knows the clock is ticking, that we may not be able to stop what's coming, only restart when it ends. The vault is designed to survive earthquakes, nuclear blasts, rising seas, and even the failure of power grids. It doesn't need electricity. The mountain's permafrost alone is enough to preserve the seeds for thousands of years. Inside, the temperature never rises. It only waits, quiet, eternal. Each seed is catalogued, sealed in aluminum and filed away like a frozen prayer. A grain of wheat from Egypt, a rice kernel from Vietnam, corn from the plains of America. It is a Noah's Ark, made not of animals but of agriculture, the blueprint for rebuilding civilization. But there's something unsettling in how certain it feels, as if the architects of the vault weren't planning for if the world falls apart, but when. The funding comes from world powers, elite foundations, and shadowed institutions. Governments that can't agree on peace cooperate in silence. Here. And though the vault is sealed to the public, one group, one country, was the first to withdraw seeds. Syria during its civil war. It's not fiction. It already happened. The vault is not just a plan. It's already in motion. There are theories, of course. That deep within the vault are more than seeds. DNA banks, data chips, perhaps even records of history cleansed from public memory, ready to reseed not just crops but culture. That the elite have created not just a garden for the future, but a script. And when the reset button is pressed, only their version of the world will sprout again. Even now, the entrance to the vault glows with an eerie blue light, like something from a dream or a warning. It hums against the silence of the Arctic. No footsteps, no chatter, just wind, ice, and the unshakable feeling that beneath your feet rests a plan you were never meant to see. Because this vault does not guard the past. It waits for your absence. And the seeds inside, they do not sleep. They're waiting for the world to die. Hidden behind the pale concrete walls of a government building in Pyongyang, one that bears no nameplate and welcomes no visitors, there lies a door that leads to Room 39. Officially, it doesn't exist. Unofficially, it is one of the most secretive and dangerous financial operations in the modern world. Its true function? To keep a regime alive no matter the cost, even if the cost is you. Room 39 is not a room at all. It's a sprawling, deeply embedded network of shadow economies, all controlled from a single epicenter. Rumors tell of factories that print perfect counterfeit US currency, so precise they've fooled international banks, of drug operations, manufacturing methamphetamine and heroin destined for foreign streets, of illicit arms deals smuggled, wildlife, fake pharmaceuticals, and cyber-hacking syndicates, all roads leading back to one cold, dimly lit office. But no one speaks of Room 39 openly. Not even defectors. Those who do disappear. The name itself is forbidden inside the country. Some believe it's guarded not by soldiers, but by loyalty bought in blood. Others say it moves, operating from shifting locations to remain untraceable, like a ghost chasing its own shadow. A few even claim it no longer needs a room, that its operations are now decentralized, digital, global, existing everywhere and nowhere at once. What's most chilling isn't what it does, it's why it exists. Room 39 isn't just about money, it's about survival. It's the lifeline of the regime, a slush fund estimated to hold billions of dollars, propping up the country's elite while the masses starve. It fuels missiles. It bribes foreign officials. It buys silence in high places, and yet we don't shut it down. Why? Because Room 39 is entangled in the machinery of global power. Somewhere in Europe, a luxury hotel accepts payments through a shell company linked to Pyongyang. Somewhere in Africa, a government signs a deal with a mining company whose profits vanish into invisible accounts. Somewhere on the internet, ransomware attacks cripple financial systems, and the fingerprints lead back to ghosts trained by Room 39. Some intelligence agencies suspect it even has connections to cryptocurrency laundering and offshore havens. Clean money in, dirty money out. But tracing it is like chasing a shadow in fog. Everything is hidden behind layers of false names, ghost companies, and digital smoke. So when you hear that North Korea is isolated, remember that's the illusion. Room 39 is its beating heart, and that heart is plugged into our world, feeding quietly in the dark. You'll never see its door. You'll never hear its name spoken in the halls of diplomacy. But know this, every time a missile rises over the Sea of Japan, every time a nation trades silence for favor, Room 39 has paid for it, and the currency is fear. On satellite images, it's just a patch of forest near Mount Yamantau in Russia's Ural Mountains. Quiet, green, unassuming. But if you look closer, the trees blur into fences, roads twist away from public routes, and nestled deep within the shadows lies Mezhgory, a closed city, sealed from the world, unknown to most and forbidden to all outsiders. It's not on any tourist guide, and you won't find it on Russian road signs. And yet, people live there, thousands working, moving, watching. What exactly is Mezhgory? The Russian government calls it just a mining town. Others say it's a nuclear command center, fortified deep beneath the granite bones of the Hao mountain. Locals whisper that Mount Yamantau hides an underground fortress built to house leaders during global catastrophe. Food reserves, air filtration, communication bunkers, a city beneath the city, prepared not just for war, but for the end of the world. There are no windows into Mezhgory, only questions. Why is it one of the most heavily guarded places in Russia, with constant military patrols and restricted airspace? Why did satellite images capture construction, continuing through the fall of the Soviet Union, while the rest of the country collapsed? Why do residents never leave, and why do outsiders never return? Some believe Mezhgory is home to the Dead Hand system, a doomsday weapon designed to launch a full-scale nuclear retaliation even if every human commander is dead. Others suspect it's a vault for classified biological experiments, or a military cloning facility. A few, those with a darker imagination, think it's a prison, not for people but for ideas, too dangerous to release. The unsettling truth: no one talks. Former officials go silent when asked. Journalists are warned away. Even Google Maps blurs the location, while every other Russian city, from Moscow to Murmansk, is crystal clear. The Russian government has issued multiple, conflicting explanations. Sometimes it's a mining project, other times a storage depot, or simply nothing of concern. But the silence says more than the lies. If Medjugorje truly is a sanctuary, what or who is it built to protect? If it is a bunker, then who decides when it is used? And if it's something else entirely, what horror is so great it must be buried beneath a mountain? Outside the city, the air is still, the forests are thick, the roads are watched. People nearby don't ask questions, not because they're loyal, but because they're afraid. In Russia, secrets have weight, and some secrets are heavier than a mountain. In the end, Medjugorje remains a city without origin, without maps, and without exit. It breathes in silence. It survives on secrecy, and it exists. Only because you're not supposed to. No, it does. About 90 miles off the coast of São Paulo, Brazil, lies a place that even the bravest fishermen avoid. To the untrained eye, Ilha de Queimada Grande, better known as Snake Island, appears like a lush, tropical paradise. As your waters lap against its rocky shores, palm trees wave gently in the wind and the jungle sings. But those songs are not birds, and the trees hide something alive and waiting. You are not allowed to set foot on Snake Island, no one is. The Brazilian government has made it illegal to go there without military permission. Not to preserve nature, but to protect people from dying. Because Snake Island is not just infested with snakes, it's ruled by them. Thousands of them, not garden snakes, not pythons. These are golden lanceheads, Bothrops insularis, one of the most venomous snakes on Earth. Their venom is so potent that it can melt flesh, thin your blood to water, and shut down your body in minutes. And they're not hiding. They perch in trees, slither along. The trails nest in abandoned structures. On this island, you are never more than a few feet from a silent watching death. According to local law, the snakes weren't always here. Some believe pirates placed them there to guard buried treasure. Others say the island split from the mainland thousands of years ago, and the snakes, cut off from other food sources, evolved a deadlier venom to catch birds before they escaped. In truth, it doesn't matter how they came. What matters is what they've become. Even the lighthouse was abandoned. In the early 1900s, a lighthouse keeper and his family lived there until one night they were found dead. Snake bites. The official report was accidental exposure, but the villagers nearby still tell it differently. They say the snakes came through the windows, dropping from the ceiling, sliding in while the family slept. They say the jungle itself moved. Scientists occasionally visit Snake Island, but only under strict government escort. They come with anti-venom padded suits and one unspoken rule: never step off the trail. Even then, they've recorded dozens of near misses. Some say the snakes act strangely, as if more coordinated than they should be, as if they remember. But what's most chilling isn't the number of snakes. It's the island's silence. No monkeys, no large birds, no mammals. It's as if the island eats whatever lives, then waits patiently for more. So why not burn it, clear it, erase it? Because hidden in those fangs is medical potential. Researchers believe the venom could help treat heart disease or cancer. But to find those answers, someone has to risk walking among the ghosts of venom. Snake Island remains closed, locked away like a cursed book on a forgotten shelf. And yet it waits for the fool who thinks he can outpace a serpent, or worse, outsmart the jungle that no longer wants us there. In the scorched red heart of Australia, where dust devils dance over ancient stone, and even time seems to crack. In the heat, there lies a place that doesn't belong. Perfectly circular satellite domes, white, sterile, silent dot, The landscape like alien eggs. Surveillance towers pierce the sky. Fences bristle with warning signs. The roads to this place are patrolled, and the skies above it are no-fly zones. This is Pine Gap. Officially, it's a joint U.S.-Australian intelligence facility tucked just outside Alice Springs. Its purpose, according to public documents, is space research and communications support. But those who live nearby know better. They've seen the black SUVs without license plates. They've seen the helicopters with no markings, flying low and silent. And they've heard stories. Stories that make the night air colder than the desert should allow. What lies beneath Pine Gap is buried deeper than its satellites can scan. Locals say it's not just a base, but a labyrinth, a multi-level, underground city. Descending stories beneath the earth. The air there is filtered. The lights never turn off, and the personnel never ask questions. It's rumored that workers are flown in blindfolded, told only what they need to know, then bound by lifelong silence. But silence is fragile, and whispers always find a way out. Some say Pine Gap is the nerve center of the Five Eyes Alliance, intercepting global communications, decrypting private data, even listening in on other allies. It can allegedly track every missile on Earth, every submarine movement, even monitor the heartbeat of a person standing alone in the woods. The base listens. It always listens, and then there are the darker claims. Satellite engineers once reported that their readings would glitch when scanning over Pine Gap, as if something was jamming reality itself. Former insiders, speaking only under anonymity, have described strange humming noises from beneath the floors, equipment that moves on its own, and classified rooms that are locked from the inside, but no one ever leaves them. One ex-security guard, visibly shaking in a leaked interview, said this: "We're told it's tech from the future, but it feels older than any of us. It's not ours, not fully." Others believe Pine Gap is involved in extraterrestrial tracking, that signals are being received, not just sent, that something is waiting out there, and Pine Gap is its listening post. In the nearby town, the sky sometimes glows at night. Locals blame it on military tests. But one old woman, whose family lived there long before the base, said, "The stars used to speak to us. Now they hide." Pine Gap is the reason. And maybe she's right. Because deep in the center of the outback, beneath layers of earth and steel, lies a place where every sound is recorded, except the ones that scream. Just off the coast of Venice, nestled in the lagoon's soft waves, sits an island you won't find in most tourist brochures. Poveglia. Lush trees lean over crumbling brick buildings. A bell tower, long silent, looms like a watching eye. Birds sing here. The breeze is soft, and yet no one comes. Not fishermen, not travelers, not even the brave. Because Poveglia doesn't just hold history. It holds something else. Centuries ago, during the bubonic plague, Poveglia became a dumping ground for the dying. The sick were brought here in boats, some still alive, others only half dead. Once on the island, they were left to rot, burn, or be buried in mass pits. It is said that over 100,000 souls were tossed into its soil. The ground, they claim, is more ash than earth, but the horror didn't end with the plague. In the 20th century, a psychiatric hospital was built on the island, a place where the mentally ill were sent and forgotten. Patients whispered of being experimented on. One doctor, driven by madness or something darker, was rumored to perform cruel surgeries without anesthesia. He believed he could cure insanity by removing parts of the brain, by force. Eventually, it said, the voices he tried to silence began to follow him. One night he jumped or was pushed from the bell tower. His body was never recovered. The tower has remained sealed ever since. Locals say the screams never stopped. That on certain nights, even from the mainland, you can hear weeping, shouting, the clang of metal, and sometimes the bell tolls, though there's no bell inside anymore. No one lives on Poveglia now. It's closed to the public. Boats that pass too closely often experience mechanical failure or lose GPS signal. Divers have reported seeing pale figures beneath the water, faces pressed to the glass of their masks. Even seasoned paranormal investigators have refused to return after a single visit. But the question lingers, why seal the island completely? Why not turn it into a historical site, a tourist stop, a museum of plague and sorrow? Because maybe some history doesn't want to be remembered. Some say the island is a wound still open, that too many died in fear, in pain, and with no burial rites. Others claim the soil is cursed, that even plants grow twisted here, as if the very life of the island is bent by agony. There are rumors that exorcists were sent, not once, but many times, and that none completed the ritual. So the island remains, floating, watching, waiting. The wind whispers through broken windows. The water laps gently at its poisoned shores. And still the bell tower casts its shadow, silent but somehow as in not still. Because Poveglia was meant to be erased, but it refuses to be forgotten. And maybe it's remembering you. Deep beneath a green mound in Xi'an, China, lies one of the most sacred and sealed mysteries of our world. Tomb, not just any tomb, but that of Emperor Qin Shi Huang, the first emperor of a unified China, the man who built the Great Wall, standardized currency, crushed kingdoms under one flag, and who feared death so deeply that he ordered the construction of a secret palace beneath the earth, one fit for a god. No one has opened it, not because they can't, but because they dare not. The tomb was discovered in 1974 by accident. Farmers digging a well unearthed a clay figure, life-sized, solemn, armored. Then another, and another. What emerged was the now famous terracotta army. Over 8,000 warriors, each uniquely carved, standing in ranks as if ready for battle. Horses, archers, generals, even entertainers, all frozen in clay, guarding the emperor in death, as they had in life. But they guard only the entrance. The central chamber, the emperor's actual burial site, remains untouched, sealed, hidden behind walls of earth and centuries of fear, because ancient texts and modern scans suggest something terrifying inside. According to historical records written by the Han Dynasty, historian Sima Qian, the tomb is vast, a subterranean world modeled after the empire. Rivers of pure mercury flow through its carved valleys. The ceiling mimics the heavens painted with stars. Traps, they say, were rigged to fire arrows the moment the tomb is disturbed. It was meant to last for eternity and to never be seen again. Modern scientists have confirmed abnormally high mercury levels in the soil above the chamber. So the legends may be true, and that's where the mystery deepens. Why such effort? Why such secrecy, and what else lies beneath the surface? Some researchers believe Qin was obsessed with immortality, that he drank mercury elixirs meant to cheat death, which ironically hastened his demise. But others whisper darker things, that rituals were performed inside the tomb, that slaves and concubines were buried alive to serve him in the afterlife, that the emperor sealed not just himself inside, but something he feared might follow him. To this day, the Chinese government refuses to excavate the main tomb, not out of superstition alone, but caution. Technology has not yet caught up to the scale, sensitivity, or spiritual danger the site presents. If the mercury rivers are breached, they could poison the land. If the structural integrity is disturbed, the entire chamber might collapse. And if the ancient curses are real, then we may not be able to put the genie back in the jar. So it remains beneath our feet, a sleeping empire under a hill, perfectly preserved, perfectly sealed, and utterly unknown. For now the emperor sleeps in darkness, his kingdom untouched, his secrets unwhispered. But every year the temptation grows to open the door, to light the chamber, to see what no one has seen for over 2,000 years. And yet, some doors were never meant to open. Some kings still rule, even in death. About 25 miles off, the southeastern coast of Brazil, lies a patch of land so feared, so restricted that no ordinary human may step foot on it. It's not because of government secrets, ancient curses, or radioactive danger. It's because of snakes. Not just any snakes, the deadliest in the world. This is Ilha da Queimada Grande, known to most simply as Snake Island, and no place on Earth compares. Roughly the size of 30 football fields, this uninhabited island is home to an estimated 2,000 to 4,000 golden lancehead vipers, one of the most venomous snake species known to man. These aren't ordinary snakes hiding in bushes or sunbathing on rocks. They're in the trees. They're in the grasses. They're even in the abandoned lighthouse, once manned by a keeper whose body, according to local legend, was never recovered. Only the blood-smeared door remained. The golden lancehead is beautiful and terrifying. Its golden scales shimmer in the tropical light, and its venom is 5 times more potent than its mainland cousins. One bite causes tissue necrosis, internal bleeding, organ failure, and, without immediate treatment, death. Why so many snakes? Why here? Thousands of years ago, the sea levels rose, isolating the island from the mainland. With no predators and abundant birds landing during migration, the golden lanceheads evolved into apex hunters. Over time, they became faster, deadlier, and more aggressive. They learned to strike with near precision at birds, mid-flight, injecting venom. So fast the prey dies before it hits the ground. Here, nature did not balance itself. It intensified. The Brazilian government has outlawed all unauthorized entry. Only a handful of scientists, under strict permits and armed escort, are allowed to study the snakes, usually for medical research. Golden lancehead venom, paradoxically, may hold miraculous properties, like potential cancer treatments and blood pressure regulation, but even those trained in herpetology tread carefully. One misstep can end in hours of agonizing death, with no hospital close enough to save you. Still, there are rumors of poachers and black market traders willing to brave the island for the snakes. A single golden lancehead can fetch tens of thousands of dollars on the exotic, pet or pharmaceutical black market. Some believe illegal landings still happen under moonlight, men in boats, moving quickly before the snakes catch scent. Many don't return. Even the trees seem to whisper. Even the rocks are silent. It is not a place of life. It is a place of watchful death. And the island itself, as it waits, no government facility could guard its borders better. No walls are needed. No guards are required. The snakes are the defense system, and they are very, very good at their job. So stay away, for if you enter Snake Island, you may not die instantly. But you will not leave, unchanged or alive. In the searing heart of Australia's red outback, far from cities and travelers, surrounded by dust and silence, there lies a facility so secretive, even the wind seems hesitant to whisper its name. Pine Gap. Officially, it's known as the Joint Defense Facility Pine Gap, a collaboration between the United States and Australia. But unofficially, it is one of the most heavily guarded and technologically advanced surveillance hubs in the world. It watches the world, and no one watches it. Built during the Cold War and buried deep within the desert outside Alice Springs, Pine Gap looks like something out of a science fiction novel. Dozens of white radomes, or golf balls, dot the landscape like strange alien eyes. These domes conceal the most advanced antennas ever created. Their job? To listen, to intercept, to watch. But watch what? Satellite communications, nuclear missile launches, enemy troop movements, phone calls, emails, even the heartbeat of foreign leaders, some say. It's true. Capabilities remain cloaked in myth, but insiders have hinted that Pine Gap is part of a global surveillance network so powerful it can track a single person anywhere on Earth in real time. The people who work inside rarely speak. Their identities are concealed. Even their families are told to forget where they go each morning. Some call it Australia's Area 51, but it may be more dangerous. For unlike Area 51, whose secrets are rumored, Pine Gap's activities affect every corner of global conflict, from drone strikes in the Middle East to cyber warfare in Europe, to the whisper of static over your phone late at night. There's a saying among intelligence agents, what Pine Gap hears no one else should. But it's not just the spying. There are rumors of underground bunkers, deep tunnels, nuclear-proof vaults, and quantum communication labs beneath the facility. Some believe that deep within Pine Gap is a command system for space-based weaponry orbiting kill satellites, ready to strike from the sky at the push of a button. Others believe that the facility is used not just to monitor human threats, but non-human ones. Multiple whistleblowers over the years have claimed to witness unidentified aerial phenomena, UFOs tracked by Pine Gap's instruments, objects moving faster than physics should allow, vanishing into the sky above the desert. Some staff quit, others were never seen again, and always the silence returns. You cannot enter Pine Gap, not without clearance that few people on Earth possess, not without being followed, not without being watched yourself. Even flying over it is forbidden. Military jets intercept within minutes. But perhaps the most terrifying part isn't what Pine Gap does. It's what Pine Gap knows. And one day, when the world burns from the inside out, we may realize the truth had always been stored, quietly beneath the red sands of Australia. A silent eye, always watching, never blinking. Beneath the glittering romance of Paris, the cafes, the art, the slow sunsets over the Seine, lies another city. Darker one, a colder one. A city of bones. The catacombs of Paris, over 200 miles of tunnels wind beneath the streets, many unmapped, many collapsed, many never meant to be entered again. At their heart lies a portion open to tourists, neatly arranged skulls and femurs forming haunting patterns, like a morbid gallery of death. But beyond the polished part lies something else. The forbidden zones. These are the parts of the catacombs you are not allowed to see. Winding corridors soaked with groundwater, choked with dust, silence, and bones. This isn't history. It's a mass grave. It all began in the late 1700s, when the overflowing cemeteries of Paris began, leaking disease into the living city. Bodies were dug up at night, carted down into the old limestone quarries and stacked by the millions. Over 6 million souls now rest below Paris, more dead than the city has ever held. Alive, but they say not all rest peacefully. Urban explorers, cataphils, often enter illegally, sliding through drain covers and shattered maintenance tunnels. Some come out shaken, others don't come out at all. They speak of strange markings on the walls that shift between visits, of whispers when no one is near, of cameras shutting off on their own, of rooms full of bones not arranged by human hands. One lost explorer's video. Camera was recovered in 2002. Its footage disturbing. It showed a man running deeper and deeper into the tunnels, increasingly panicked until the light cuts to black. He was never found. Not even a shoe. Then there are the parties. Yes, secret. Dinner parties and masked balls held illegally in the deeper catacombs by the elite. The police once found a fully wired cinema with projection equipment in a bar abandoned. Hours before their arrival. Who built it? No one knows. What were they watching? No one will say. Even the French government maintains restricted zones in the catacombs. What lies in those sealed chambers? Some say it's art, others say it's something ancient, something Paris itself was built to bury. Because not all secrets are written in ink. Some are carved into stone. Some are whispered through skulls. The deeper you go, the tighter the air feels, like something is breathing with you. The walls begin to sweat. The tunnels loop back on themselves. Even experienced explorers get lost. But worst of all, you feel the eyes. Not human, not animal. Just there, in the dark. So next time you visit Paris and sip your coffee in a sunny courtyard, remember this. Just beneath your feet, 6 million silent witnesses lie in the dark. And some of them are listening. Roughly 90 miles off the coast of São Paulo, Brazil, lies a place so deadly that it's illegal for civilians to step foot there. A place where one mistake could mean 1,000 bites. Ilha da Queimada Grande. But most know it by its darker name, Snake Island. At first glance, it's beautiful. Lush rainforest, rocky shores, seagulls circling overhead. But step ashore and beauty turns to nightmare. Because every square meter of this island is home to one of the most lethal predators on Earth, the golden lancehead viper. These snakes are not ordinary. They are faster, more venomous, and more aggressive than their mainland cousins. And they're everywhere. In the trees, in the underbrush, in the rafters of the long-abandoned lighthouse. Estimates suggest there are 1 to 5 snakes per square meter. You cannot walk without stepping near one. You cannot breathe without wondering if something is watching from the branches. The golden lancehead's venom is necrotic. It melts flesh, destroys blood vessels and shuts down organs in hours. There is no hospital near enough. There is no help. There is only the bite, and then the slow fade into silence. The lighthouse once held keepers and their families. But one night, the story goes, snakes slithered in through open windows. The family tried to flee to their boat. They never made it. Locals later found their bodies, swollen and lifeless, scattered along the jungle trail. After that, the island was sealed. The Brazilian Navy makes occasional visits to maintain the lighthouse's automatic systems. But even they wear protective gear and they never stay long. Scientists, under strict government supervision, are allowed brief excursions. They speak in hushed tones about odd behavior, snakes that seem to follow from a distance, circling, watching, waiting. The big question is, why are there so many snakes? Why only on this island? 1. Theory says the snakes were trapped here when sea levels rose and isolated the land thousands of years ago with low predators and an abundance of migratory birds. They evolved fast, deadly, strategic. But another theory that man put them here. There are whispers of illegal biological experiments, of smugglers dropping venomous snakes for protection, of ancient curses left by forgotten tribes. What is fact and what is legend, no one can say. Because the island keeps its truth buried beneath leaves, fangs, and silence. And perhaps the most chilling part, there are rumors, denied, by the government, of another species deep in the center of the island, one not yet named, one too aggressive for study. So if you ever see Snake Island on a map, don't be curious, don't wonder what's inside, because the island doesn't just protect itself. It hunts. A short boat ride from the romantic canals of Venice lies an island so feared, locals won't even speak its name aloud. They just call it the Island of No Return. But its true name is Poveglia. From a distance it looks like any other forgotten scrap of land, an overgrown ruins, leaning bell towers, trees tangled in time. But set foot here and something changes in the air, a heaviness, a silence that presses against your chest. Because this island remembers. In the 18th century, as plague ravaged Europe, Poveglia became a quarantine zone. Thousands of infected men, women, children were shipped here to die. There were no doctors, no medicine, just mass graves, smoke and screaming. It said over 160,000 corpses were burned into the soil, their ashes mixing with the dirt, turning it black and sticky. Even today, fishermen avoid casting their nets too close. Bones still surface after storms. But Poveglia's story didn't end with the plague. In the early 20th century, a new horror moved in, a psychiatric hospital. On paper, it was a place of healing. In reality, it became a house of nightmares. The patients, many already suffering, reported seeing figures walking through walls, hearing voices whispering in forgotten dialects and waking up with strange wounds. Doctors dismissed them, until the hospital's head physician began conducting macabre experiments, lobotomies without anesthesia, isolation chambers sealed shut, patients strapped to rusted tables beneath the bell tower, their screams echoing through the fog. Eventually, the doctor himself went mad. He claimed the island's spirits were haunting him, that they spoke in the walls. One night he climbed the bell tower and jumped, or so the story goes. Some say the spirits dragged him off the ledge. Others say he survived the fall, only to be choked by a black mist that poured from the ground. Today the bell tower still stands. Locals claim the bell rings at night, even though the mechanism was removed long ago. The Italian government has since closed the island, forbidding public access. Only a handful of paranormal investigators and historians have been allowed to set foot there. Most leave shaken. One refused to speak at all. Those who've dared sleep on Poveglia report vivid nightmares, shadowy figures pacing outside and whispers in Latin, non redibo, I shall not return. And maybe that's the warning, because some places are not forgotten by accident. They are sealed off for a reason. Poveglia is not just haunted by the dead, it's waiting. Beneath the red dust and sweltering silence of the Australian outback lies a place that shouldn't exist, yet somehow watches everything. They call it Pine Gap. From above, it looks like a scattering of satellite dishes in the middle of nowhere. But that's just the skin. The real Pine Gap is buried, deep beneath the ground, beneath layers of reinforced concrete, metal, and silence. A joint US-Australian facility, cloaked in desert heat. But what makes it so feared? Officially, Pine Gap is a satellite tracking station tasked with collecting signals, intelligence. But what kind of signals? And from where? Over the years, whispers have leaked out, barely, more than rumors, dismissed by governments, scrubbed from reports. They say Pine Gap doesn't just monitor Earth. It listens to everything, from orbiting satellites to underground bunkers, from enemy states to its own allies, even dreams of decoding brainwave. Patterns have surfaced, radio, frequencies tuned to the frequencies of the human mind. But perhaps the most disturbing theory is this: Pine Gap isn't only watching others. It's watching you. Locals in the nearby town of Alice Springs report strange signals interfering with electronics, radios playing foreign voices, TV sets flickering on with no input, and every so often the sky turns wrong. A low-frequency hum vibrates through the air, strong enough to shake windows but never loud enough to catch on tape. Some say it's just equipment. Others think it's something waking up. Former employees, those brave or broken enough to speak, hint at sublevels that don't appear on any blueprint, rooms without doors, corridors that loop endlessly, and one chamber far below where no metal can survive. Just concrete, ash, and a cold so deep it bites through bone. There are claims that Pine Gap taps into satellites not launched by any nation, that it has received untraceable transmissions, not from this Earth but from above or beneath, signals in languages unknown, pulses that follow no pattern, and images of things not yet happened. Once in 2013, a blip appeared on international radar, an unexplained energy wave radiating from the Pine Gap coordinates. No explosion, no news, just a tremor in space-time that nobody was allowed to explain. And then nothing. Silence. Again, today drones patrol the air. Fences buzz with more than just electricity. And if you wander too close, you're not arrested, you simply vanish. A missing persons case never filed. So what lies beneath that ancient desert? A spy station? A weapon of war? Or something more, an eye placed long ago not just to observe, but to wait, because sometimes the desert doesn't just keep secrets. It listens back. Just off the southeastern coast of Brazil lies a place so forbidden that even the military won't land there without permission and protection. Its real name is Ilha da Queimada Grande, but most call it something simpler, something that fits the whispers, Snake Island. Why? Because here, on every branch, beneath every stone, even between your feet, slithers a nightmare, the golden lancehead viper, one of the deadliest snakes on Earth. Locals claim there's one snake for every square meter, but others who speak more cautiously say that the snakes don't just live there, they own it, as if the island itself birthed them to defend something hidden. You're not allowed to visit. Even researchers go only under the strictest of conditions, escorted by armed guards fully suited in protective gear. And even then they move carefully, watching the trees as much as the ground, because the golden lancehead doesn't just strike, it waits. Its venom doesn't just kill, it melts flesh, causes organ failure, hallucinations, madness. But here's the mystery. These vipers exist nowhere else, only on this one island. Why? Some say the snakes were placed there, guardians for a lost treasure, perhaps left by pirates. Others believe the island was once home to an ancient temple, its priests cursed to remain in serpent form. But the most terrifying theory, that Snake Island is not cursed, it is the curse. Satellite imagery shows strange changes to the land, shifting soil patterns, craters that appear and vanish, and trees growing in perfect spirals. In the 1920s, a lighthouse keeper and his family were stationed there. One night, the radio went silent. When a ship arrived days later, they found the door hanging open, the floors smeared with blood and no bodies, just a trail leading into the forest. Then nothing, no bones, no clothes, just silence, and the sound of scales in the leaves. Today, Snake Island remains, locked away by the Brazilian Navy, not out of protection for tourists, but out of fear, because the snakes are changing. Growing larger, more aggressive, more intelligent. Some whisper that the snakes are not just evolving, they're waiting for something. Something that will call them back to the mainland. And if you ever get close enough to hear the wind move through the trees, you'll hear it. The hiss beneath the hiss, like a whisper from the jungle itself. A warning, this land belongs to the serpents, and it always has. Beneath the streets of Paris, beyond the shimmer of lights and the echo of life, lies another city. A city carved in silence, a city of the dead, the catacombs. Over 6 million bodies rest here, in tunnels that stretch more than 200 miles. But not all of them were buried in peace, and not all of them are still. The catacombs began as limestone quarries, empty tunnels that burrowed under the city like veins. But when cemeteries overflowed, spilling bones into the streets, Paris had no choice. The dead were exhumed, carted off by moonlight, and stacked like firewood in the cold stone beneath. Rows upon rows, skulls in patterns, famous in walls, a silent architecture of mortality. But something strange happened underground. Workers began reporting whispers, not voices, names, their own names, chanted from behind the walls. Some vanished. Others returned, blank-eyed, refusing to speak. One man clawed his way to the surface, fingernails torn and bloody, whispering just one phrase, "They're walking again." The French government sealed most of the tunnels. Only a small section remains open to tourists. The rest forbidden. But that hasn't stopped explorers called cataphiles from sneaking in. They speak of things that shouldn't exist. A room lit by candles that never go out. A camcorder found abandoned, still recording. Its final footage showing a man running, lost, whispering, "I'm not alone." Wall covered in bones, spelling out one phrase, "Don't turn around." There are rumors of an underground society, people who live beneath, unseen for generations, worshipping something older than the city, older than time, a god of bone, a god of rot. Police found evidence of ritual chambers, symbols etched in blood, and doors chained shut from the inside. Once a year, officials conduct a sweep. They find new graffiti, new tunnels, and sometimes new remains. Bones that don't match the historical record. Bones that look recent. And here's the part that chills the soul. The catacombs are growing. Passages appear that were never dug. Maps go out of date. Within weeks, it's as if the city beneath is alive, shifting, hungry. If you ever walk the catacombs, heed this. Advice, stay on the tourist path. Don't follow music. And if you see a skull smiling in a way that feels too human, turn back. Because in the city of light, the real darkness lies below. In the barren heart of Australia, far from civilization, lies a facility that doesn't appear on most maps. It hums, quietly beneath the desert sun, surrounded by fences, cameras, a silence that screams. They call it Pine Gap, but locals whisper another name, the Eye That Watches the World. A joint operation between the United States and Australia. Pine Gap is supposedly a satellite tracking station. But what satellites need this much secrecy? Surrounded by dozens of radomes, those white, golf ball-shaped domes, Pine Gap monitors. Everything. Phones, emails, military movements, even heat signatures from people walking in remote forests. It is everywhere, and no one outside knows exactly what it does. But here's what we do know. Pine Gap is the brain behind the drone war. It guides missile strikes thousands of miles away. It hears conversations before they even reach your phone's microphone. It's the digital reaper, silent, untraceable, and final. In the 1970s, a whistleblower tried to expose what he saw inside, massive underground levels, servers humming like a heartbeat, a room marked simply non-human intel. He vanished days later. Suicide, they said, but his wife said he left with no shoes on, despite being terrified of the cold. Former workers mentioned strange shifts, where you clock in, but time seems to pause, where no one speaks, where even the air feels classified. A T1 technician once told a journalist, "You don't see the stars at Pine Gap. You feel like they're looking back at you." There are sightings, Lights in the sky hovering above the domes. Not planes, not drones. Things that make no sound but vibrate the earth. Things that vanish when you blink. Aboriginal elders from the region say the site was cursed long before the white man arrived. They called it the Black Eye of the Serpent, a place where the sky cracked open and spirits fell to earth. Coincidence? Or did the government choose Pine Gap because of what was already here? There are thermal images leaked online, showing heat signatures underground, deep beneath the known levels. Something large, something moving. No one is allowed within 5 kilometers of the base. Not tourists, not journalists, not even birds, it seems. Locals say flocks avoid the skies above it, veering away mid-flight. And every time someone tries to fly a drone near Pine Gap, it falls from the sky, just dies. There are things we're not supposed to see, places we're not supposed to reach, and in the middle of the scorched outback, under the most watched sky on Earth, the watchers are watching something else. And whatever it is, it's watching back. Just off the coast of São Paulo lies a paradise so perfect, so lush it almost beckons you in with its green hills and golden shores. But no one lives there. No one even dares set foot there, because this is Ilha da Queimada Grande, better known as Snake Island. The Brazilian Navy has banned civilians from entering, not because of military secrets or toxic waste, but because of what slithers there in the thousands. An island ruled not by man, but by vipers. Specifically the golden lancehead pit viper, a serpent so venomous it melts flesh and causes instant hemorrhaging. There's no anti-venom, no cure, just pain, paralysis, and darkness. They estimate 1 snake per square meter. Some say more, and they are not shy. There are stories. A lighthouse keeper once lived there with his family. One night, snakes crept in through the windows. They were found days later, lifeless, covered in bite marks. After that, the lighthouse was abandoned, and the government put a steel door on the only dock. But why so many snakes? Why this island? Some believe nature made a mistake, that when sea levels rose and the island became isolated, the snakes evolved without predators, faster, deadlier, smarter. Others say it's no accident at all, that the snakes were put there by ancient people who worshipped them, guardians of something buried in the heart of the island, something that must never be touched. There are rumors of an old temple now overrun by vines and scales. Some treasure hunters went looking. They never came back. One surviving biologist who landed on the island with government permission described it as a living nightmare. He wore boots, gloves, even duct-taped every gap in his suit. Still, one viper launched at his neck from a tree branch. He barely made it to the boat. But here's the most haunting part. The golden lancehead's venom contains a chemical unique in the world that can dissolve human tissue and has been studied for potential medical breakthroughs. Yes, inside these monsters may lie the key to curing cancer. And yet the price of trying to find out is your life. Satellite images show parts of the island moving, shifting unnaturally at dusk. Some say the snakes don't act alone, that they follow something deeper, older. That Snake Island is not just a cursed Eden, but a living altar. So when you gaze at that beautiful, untouched coastline, remember, it's not unspoiled because man protected it. It's untouched because man is not welcome. And if you do go there, you'll never walk off again, only slither. Beneath the bustling cafes and cobbled streets of Paris lies a mirror city, not of light and laughter, but of silence and skulls, a hidden underworld stretching over 200 miles and filled with the bones of more than 6 million souls. Welcome to the catacombs of Paris, a place where time crumbles, where the air feels thick with memory, and the dead outnumber the living. It began as a necessity. In the late 1700s, Paris's cemeteries overflowed. Graves burst open after heavy rains. Bodies surfaced in markets, fouling the air, poisoning the water. The city was rotting from the inside out. So officials made a decision to exhume the dead and relocate them underground into the abandoned limestone quarries that once built the city itself. Night after night, priests led candlelit processions of wagons, hauling bones to their new resting place. They stacked them in patterns. Femurs, skulls, vertebrae like walls made of silence. But this wasn't just burial, it was ritual. It was penance. By the early 1800s, the catacombs became a curiosity, an attraction for nobles and madmen alike, a place of secret gatherings and forbidden experiments. Napoleon's soldiers are said to have trained in the dark, navigating the maze by instinct. During World War II, resistance fighters hid in its depths, while Nazis used other tunnels nearby as headquarters. But the deeper you go, the stranger it gets. Some corridors are unmarked, others are deliberately sealed. There are rooms with strange symbols, chambers with bones arranged into altars, sarcophagi built into the rock without names. Urban explorers or cataphiles have mapped parts of the tunnels, but not all. Because some paths change, tunnels collapse, new ones open, and some who enter never come back. In 2004, police discovered a secret underground cinema inside the catacombs, a screening room fully powered, chairs arranged, a bar, but no one ever claimed it. When they returned days later, everything was gone. In 1990, a camcorder was found deep in the tunnels. The footage showed a man wandering, lost, growing, increasingly panicked. He drops the camera and runs into the dark. He was never identified. His body never found. Locals speak of voices in the stone, whispers that don't echo, hands that brush your back though you are alone, and signs, "Stop, you are entering the empire of the dead." But what if this place wasn't just a tomb? What if it's a barrier, a prison, holding something back? Or something in? You may tour a small section open to the public, but the true catacombs, they stretch for miles, unlit, unmapped, and very much alive in memory. So when you walk the streets of Paris, listen closely. That soft crunch beneath your feet might not be gravel, it might be bone. In the barren desert of northern New Mexico, near the town of Dulce, there is a mesa, a quiet, windswept plateau. Locals call it Archuleta Mesa. To the untrained eye, it's just rock and scrub. But many believe that beneath this mesa lies one of the most heavily guarded secrets in modern history. A 7-story underground facility, known only by whispers as Dulce Base, no signs, no roads, no public record. And yet the stories persist. It began in the late 1970s. A former government engineer named Phil Schneider claimed he helped build an underground military base near Dulce. While drilling, they allegedly broke into a cavern, but it wasn't empty, it was inhabited. Schneider said a firefight erupted between humans and non-human entities, something humanoid but not quite. He claimed to have been shot by a strange weapon. He survived, barely. Years later, he was found dead in his apartment, strangled by a catheter tube, officially ruled a suicide. But many say he was silenced. What then lies beneath Dulce? Rumors tell of genetic labs, cloning experiments, and biological fusion, trials gone wrong, of humans bred with animals, of hybrids engineered to look like us, until they no longer do. The base is said to have 7 levels, Level 1-2 security, administration and communications. Level 3, human staff housing, those allowed to know a little but never everything. Level 4, mind control, experiments, psychic warfare and behavior modification. Level 5, alien contact zones, reptilian entities, telepathic beings. Level 6, known as Nightmare Hall, genetic splicing, twisted forms in tanks, creatures that should not exist. Level 7, only darkness, only rumors. Some say it's where the failed experiments are kept or discarded. Is any of it true? Officially, no. The US government denies the existence of any such facility. No base, no tunnels, no aliens, but why does every signal near Archuleta Mesa jam? Why do helicopters hover there unmarked? Why do locals report low, strange humming beneath the ground? And why, when independent researchers approach the mesa, do black SUVs appear, blocking roads, recording names? Something is there. Whether it is military, extraterrestrial, or simply terrifyingly human, we don't know. But we do know this: the deeper you go, the less of you returns. So if you ever find yourself near Dulce, stay above the mesa, and don't listen too closely to the ground. Because some doors, especially the ones buried beneath the rock, weren't meant to be opened. Not far from the colorful chaos of Mexico City, Past the bustling streets and floating gardens of Xochimilco, there lies a small island, a forgotten patch of land among the canals. But this island isn't known for beauty, it's infamous for something else entirely. A place where thousands of doll parts, faded, broken, decaying, hang. From trees, dangle from ropes, and peer from the shadows. Locals call it La Isla de las Muñecas, the island of the dolls. No one lives there now. But the story begins with a man named Don Julian Santana, a recluse who, sometime in the 1950s, left his family and moved to the island alone. People say he was quiet, kind, but troubled, driven by something no one could quite understand. He claimed that a young girl had drowned in the canal near his island, that he had found her lifeless body, pulled by the current, her eyes open to the sky. Not long after, Don Julian found a doll floating in the water. Perhaps it belonged to her. Out of respect, or perhaps out of guilt, he hung it from a tree as a kind of offering, a token to calm her spirit. But that was only the beginning. He began collecting more dolls, from the trash, from the canals, from markets. He would take anything he could, find limbless, burned, stained, and hang them all around the island. They covered trees like strange fruit. They leaned from the walls of his shack. He said they whispered to him at night, that the girl's spirit was restless, that the dolls helped keep her at bay, or kept her company, or kept him from going mad. For over 50 years, he continued, never stopped. Visitors thought it was madness. Others thought it was devotion. But everyone agreed something about the island felt wrong. In 2001, Don Julian was found dead. He had drowned in the very same canal where he said the girl had died decades earlier. No foul play, no signs of a struggle, just the old man, floating in the reeds. Some say the girl had finally taken him. Others say he had given himself to her. Today, the island remains. Locals refuse to go there after dark. Even during the day, visitors report an overwhelming sense of being watched. They say the dolls' eyes move, that their heads turn when no one is looking, that some of them blink. There is no proof. No video can capture it, but those who've been there often leave in silence, and they never forget the feeling, that deep, instinctive dread, the kind that tells you you're not alone even when you can't see a soul. If you find yourself in Xochimilco, you might be tempted to visit, to take the boat, right, to see the infamous island for yourself. But be warned, you don't visit the island of the dolls, you enter its dream. And dreams, as you know, don't always let you wake up. Far off the coast of Brazil, in the sapphire waters of the Atlantic, there lies an island so dangerous, so forbidden, that the government has declared it off-limits to the public. No resorts, no tourists, no curious wanderers allowed. Its name is Ilha da Queimada Grande, but the world knows it by a simpler, more chilling name, Snake Island. From a distance it appears almost beautiful. Lush greenery, rocky cliffs, a shoreline kissed by gentle waves, but step foot on it, and you're in one of the most lethal ecosystems on Earth, because this small island, barely 100 acres wide, is home to an estimated 2,000 to 4,000 snakes, many of which are golden lanceheads, a species found nowhere else on the planet. These are not ordinary snakes. The golden lancehead is one of the most venomous vipers in the world. Its venom is so potent it can melt human flesh, causing necrosis so fast and severe that survival, even with medical attention, is unlikely. There are no hospitals here, no doctors, and there is no time to scream. Legend says that once, decades ago, a lighthouse keeper and his family lived on the island. They were its only inhabitants, and for a while all was quiet. But then came the night. The snakes, driven by hunger or something older, slithered through the cracks, entered the windows, and one by one took them all. The next ship that came to resupply found the lighthouse abandoned. The floor stained, the doors ajar, no bodies were recovered. Only stories remained. Since then, the Brazilian Navy patrols the waters, and only a handful of scientists are allowed on the island under strict regulation. Even they move carefully, wearing thick boots, carrying anti-venom, walking with sticks to prod the ground before each step. Because here, even a moment's distraction can mean death. But perhaps the most haunting question isn't why the snakes are here. It's how. Some believe the island was once part of the mainland, but rising sea levels isolated it, trapped the snakes, adapted, evolving faster, growing deadlier. Others suggest something older, something lost, an ancient ritual. Drowned, a cursed land, or a forgotten experiment in biological warfare. There are whispers, always whispers. Despite the danger, poachers still try. The golden lancehead's venom is worth a fortune on the black market, believed to hold rare compounds that could cure diseases or create new ones. But many who come to harvest never return. Their boats drift empty, their radios silent. So the island waits, shrouded in mist, guarded by the hiss of unseen fangs. It is a place untouched by mercy, a patch of earth where nature rules without kindness. And even now, when the wind is just right, sailors say they can hear the rustle of scales and feel a pair of cold eyes watching from the trees. If you ever see Snake Island on a map, don't wonder what it's like to visit. Just be grateful that you never will. In the middle of the Bay of Bengal, hidden among the Andaman Islands, lies a dense green speck of land, untouched by time and untouched by civilization. It's called North Sentinel Island, but maps mean little here. GPS may mark it, satellites may see it. But for all intents and purposes, it is a place that refuses the modern world, a place that does not welcome you, and never has. This island is home to one of the last truly uncontacted tribes on Earth, the Sentinelese people. For thousands of years they've lived here in complete isolation, untouched by empires, untouched by missionaries, untouched even by disease. They speak a language no one understands. They build homes no outsider has entered. Their existence is an echo from the Stone Age, yet fiercely, deliberately protected. Attempting to land on the island is not just illegal under Indian law, it is suicidal. Boats that drift too close are met not with curiosity, but with arrows and spears. Not gestures of peace, but of warning. And if you step foot on the sand, they will not ask why you came. They will not wait for an answer. You simply won't leave. In 2006, 2 fishermen strayed too close while illegally harvesting crabs near the island's shores. Their boat drifted in the night. By morning, they were found dead, killed with spears, their bodies never retrieved. Even helicopters sent to recover them were met with volleys of arrows. The Sentinelese, from below, stared skyward, aiming their defiance at the machines of a world they want no part of. They've been offered gifts before, food, coconuts, mirrors, even dolls. Sometimes they accept. More often they reject, not with words but with pointed tips and painted faces. And once the boats turn away, they disappear again into the forest, as if they were never there at all. The mystery lies not only in their isolation, but in their resilience. How have they survived millennia of storms, tsunamis, and change? In 2004, when a massive tsunami struck the Indian Ocean, wiping out entire coastal cities, authorities feared the tribe had been wiped out. But when a helicopter flew overhead days later, a Sentinelese warrior stood on the beach, bow drawn, daring the sky to come closer. They didn't need saving. They never asked. Scientists believe their immune systems are so unexposed to modern pathogens that even a minor cold could devastate them. That's why beyond the tribal laws there's a moral one: leave them alone. To approach them is to risk not only your life but theirs. A handshake could become a death sentence for them. And so they remain, a living time capsule untouched by globalization, religion, internet, or steel. No camera has captured their smiles. No document records their myths. No GPS can measure the depth of their silence. We often speak of discovering new worlds, but on North Sentinel Island the message is clear. Some worlds do not want to be discovered. And perhaps they're the wisest of all. Far out in the heart of Australia's desolate red interior, where the sun bleaches the ground and the silence hangs heavy over the desert, there lies a facility so hidden, so protected, that even many Australians do not fully understand what it does. Its name is Pine Gap, but names here are just formalities. What Pine Gap is a secret, nestled beneath domes and dust. From the sky, it looks like a small cluster of white spheres, radomes, They're called dotting the landscape like sterile pearls. But beneath those domes is an array of technology so sensitive, so powerful, that it can see across continents, pierce cloud cover, intercept whispers between satellites, and even track the heat signature of a missile seconds after launch. It is not merely a building, it's a global surveillance nerve center. Officially, Pine Gap is a joint defense facility operated by both the United States and Australia. But that phrase is vague by design. The truth? It's believed to be a major hub for global electronic spying, run by the NSA and the CIA hidden under a desert sky. Signals from satellites in geostationary orbit beam directly into Pine Gap's belly, where teams of analysts monitor communications, track military targets, and listen in on conversations that were never meant to be heard. Even now, what happens inside remains classified. Employees sign lifelong non-disclosure agreements. Their families often don't know the true nature of their work. Some have described going underground, literally, disappearing for days within the base's inner levels, emerging only when their task is complete. No phones, no windows, only blinking monitors and the hum of the unseen. Locals in Alice Springs, just a few miles away, have grown used to the quiet presence of the facility. But strange stories swirl like desert winds. Black helicopters seen flying in at night, unmarked convoys arriving under cover of darkness. And every once in a while, a signal jammer strong enough to scramble local broadcasts blinks on and off, as if something unexplainable passed through the air. Conspiracy theorists whisper that Pine Gap is more than a listening post. Some believe it houses a subterranean complex so vast it rivals a small city. Others claim it's part of a global weather control system, or even a portal monitoring station for off-world communications. But the most chilling rumor is simple, that it can spy on anyone, anywhere, in real time, and the only ones who know who's watching are those inside. Pine Gap's existence is public knowledge, but its purpose, that remains buried beneath layers of encryption, steel, and desert heat. It is a monument not to war, but to information, to knowing before others do, to watching while the rest of the world sleeps, and while you lie in your bed, listening to the wind outside your window. Remember this, if the satellites are looking down, Pine Gap is looking through them, and it never ever blinks. Beneath the rolling hills of China's Shanxi province lies a tomb so vast, so elaborate, and so filled with deathly silence that even after 2,000 years, it remains unopened. This is no ordinary burial ground. It is the final resting place of Qin Shi Huang, the first emperor of a unified China, a man who sought to rule not only the living, but the afterlife as well. When farmers stumbled upon fragments of clay in 1974, they uncovered what would become one of the greatest archaeological discoveries of all time. The Terracotta Army, thousands of life-sized soldiers, each with a unique face, stood in silent formation, frozen mid-march, guarding something deeper, something far more mysterious. For beyond the warriors, beyond the shattered chariots and horses, lies a sealed chamber, an underground palace untouched by light, rumored to house the emperor himself, surrounded by rivers of liquid mercury, flowing like silver blood through the soil. Historical texts written mere decades after the emperor's death describe a miniature replica of his empire, constructed inside mountains, built from bronze, constellations studded with pearls, and traps rigged to kill intruders. But no one alive has seen it. Why? Because the Chinese government, despite having the technology to excavate, has chosen not to open the tomb out of respect, they say, out of preservation. But others whisper of more chilling reasons. Modern tests of the surrounding soil have revealed extremely high concentrations of mercury, unnatural levels, far beyond what the Earth could produce. The poison seeps upward undisturbed. It suggests that the ancient account may be true. Rivers of mercury were poured through canals to create a deadly moat, a defense not just of the body, but of the secrets entombed with it. Some believe this choice to leave it sealed is not just archaeological caution, it's fear. Fear of ancient engineering beyond our understanding. Fear of curses long dormant woven into the bricks and bones. Fear that disturbing the dead emperor might awaken something History has tried, hard to bury, and then there are the spirits. Locals speak of strange sounds near the site, drums in the night, echoes of marching feet, flickers of light where there should be none. It's said that the terracotta soldiers do not merely represent an army, but contain the essence of one. Each statue a guardian, each face a soul, in a world obsessed with uncovering the past. The tomb of Qin Shi Huang remains a rare anomaly, a mystery still wrapped in silence. It exists at the edge of knowing, a dark heart pulsing beneath the earth, daring us to look and warning us not to. One day the seal may break, the mercury may flow, the lights may flicker on, and we may finally see the emperor lying in state, as he intended, in a kingdom of his own design where even death bowed before him. But until then, the earth holds its breath, and the tomb remains watching. In the middle of the Nevada desert, where the sun scorches the sand by day and the wind whispers secrets at night, lies a stretch of land that doesn't officially exist. It's not on most maps. There are no welcome signs, no marked gates. Just endless miles of silence and a fence that warns deadly force authorized. This is Area 51, perhaps the most infamous no-go zone in the modern world. For decades, the US government denied its existence. When asked, officials would smile politely or shrug their shoulders. And yet, cameras mounted on distant hills could see something. Strange lights darting through the sky, shapes that defied explanation. Aircraft that seemed to vanish into thin air. Pilots whispered stories. Locals talked of sonic booms with no source. And beyond those fences, behind miles of restricted airspace, something was clearly happening. What was it? Officially, Area 51 was created during the Cold War to test spy planes, advanced aircraft like the U-2 and the SR-71 Blackbird, machines that needed secrecy, silence, and space. But as time passed, the myths grew darker. Some believed those crafts weren't built, but reversed engineered, that what crashed in Roswell in 1947 wasn't a weather balloon, but something not of this world. And it was brought here. The stories say that deep underground, beneath the visible hangars and airstrips, lies a maze of hidden laboratories and storage vaults. Inside them, recovered alien technology, biological samples, and visitors from beyond the stars, dead or perhaps still alive. Others claim that experiments took place not just on hardware, but on consciousness itself, time distortion, remote viewing, parallel dimensions. That Area 51 is not just a testing ground, but a gateway. Surveillance is absolute. Step 1 inch too close, and white trucks will appear on the horizon, silently watching. Drones hum overhead. Even the sky above is off limits, one of the few places in America where pilots are forbidden to fly. They say even the workers who enter the base must take unmarked planes, and once inside they disappear into a world sealed behind walls of silence and security clearances that don't officially exist. For many, Area 51 is the ultimate metaphor, a dust symbol of the unseen powers that shape our lives, of truths too dangerous to share. What happens when a government knows something too terrible or too revolutionary for the public to bear? Do they bury it in the sand, lock it in concrete bunkers, erase its name from maps? Whatever the truth, maybe one thing is certain: Area 51 is real now. The government finally acknowledged it exists. But what they won't say is what lies beneath, behind, and beyond. So it remains a wound in the desert, dry, silent, and pulsing, with unanswered questions. A place that hums with the echoes of the impossible. A forbidden line on the map, where science fiction and hidden reality might meet. And now, as our journey winds to a close, we step back from the edges of the map, from the barbed fences and sealed doors, and return to quieter thoughts, questions that echo more softly in the stillness of night. Why do places like these exist? Why must there be corners of the world wrapped in silence, shrouded in secrecy and locked away from curious eyes? Perhaps it is fear of knowledge, of power, of history's cruel repetitions, or perhaps it is protection, an attempt to shield us from truths too heavy for daylight, too strange to grasp. Whether born of necessity or of control, these forbidden places whisper something deeply human, that not everything is meant to be seen, not yet. Each of the 29 places we visited told its own tale, of ancient echoes buried beneath the earth, of governments moving pieces behind curtains, of quiet forests that remember things we've tried to forget, and of vaults that wait patiently for a future that may never come. But if we listen closely, beneath the horror and the hush, we hear another sound, a longing, a thread that weaves through every locked door and every empty street, the human need to understand, to uncover, to bear witness, even when we're told not to. Especially then, because secrets have gravity. The more they are hidden, the more we are drawn toward them. Still, there is comfort in the quiet, in knowing that some mysteries remain intact, that some pieces of the world still resist our gaze. Not everything must be solved. Not every truth must be shouted. There is a strange peace in the unknown, like the dark sky above us, vast and unending, filled with stars we may never reach. So let us rest with this thought that beyond the fences and the veils, beyond the mountain bunkers and hollow islands, there are still stories waiting, not for the spotlight but for stillness. And maybe, just maybe, the greatest mystery of all is that we are drawn to them not to reveal them, but to remember why they were hidden in the first place. Close your eyes now. The maps can wait. The doors will remain locked for tonight. And somewhere out there, in the silent corners of the earth, the secrets sleep too.